Hello, this is Money in the Federal Reserve, Section B, Money Supply Measurements lecture. Our prioritized standard is Economic Standard 51, and objectively, we're going to distinguish between the different money supply measurements. Now, the most basic money supply measurement is actually known as M1, which consists only of funds that are easily accessible and in actual circulation, meaning these are things that you could actually go to a store and buy things with. M1 is actually made up of three major components. The first of those components is currency. So when you think of money, you're actually probably thinking of currency. This includes both paper money and coins. This is not even the biggest part of M1, however. The biggest part is actually checkable accounts, sometimes called demand deposits. These are accounts where funds are deposited and can be withdrawn at the demand of the account holder. So essentially, you write a check, or possibly you swipe a debit card, and then basically that gives instructions that, hey, this bank, this account at this bank, I am demanding that you take this much money out of this account and then give it to this group instead. That's basically what a check does. That's what a debit card does also. They basically all do that. So that's a huge part of the basic money supply, or M1. And the third component are traveler's checks. Now, these are actual special checks issued by a bank. Usually they have different denominations on them. This one is a 20. You can see them in different denominations like hundreds, 50s. Basically anything currency would have, they probably have those denominations also. And these are given primarily to travelers. Now, how these are different? Well, if you took a bunch of cash on a vacation and you were robbed, then you basically just lost all your money. But if you were robbed and you had a traveler's check, then basically you could contact your bank and they could actually give you new checks. So basically it's like insured money that can actually be replaced. Nature of how this works: when you get it, you sign it once. Then when you try to use it, you have to take it to a place that accepts, I think this kind is an American Express traveler's check. So anywhere that accepts American Express, then you sign it again. They check the signatures, make sure they look the same, and then basically you get your change back in just regular currency. That's how a traveler's check works. So again, that's going to be M1 money. And again, all these are things you can actually go to a store and purchase things with. A broader money supply measurement is actually known as M2, which includes M1, meaning all the things we already got done talking about are also a part of M2, but additionally, this includes other readily available funds. Now, what's meant by readily available funds means you can translate these into money very quickly, but they are not actual things that you could use to actually go purchase items with. So this includes, now when we're talking about the other readily available funds, this includes things like money market accounts, money market mutual fund shares, other types of savings account deposits, things considered to be near money, which we'll talk about in a second. But again, like if you have lots of money in a savings account, that's awesome, that's great. But just bringing and showing someone your account from your savings account will translate into you getting nothing from any store. No store will give you any money just because you have money in a savings account. But it would be very easy to take the money in a savings account and turn it into currency or a check or even traveler's checks. So since it's very easy to turn it into money, but it's not exactly money, that's why they call it near money, which brings us to the next term, near money. So in a sense, you consider just money to be like a glass of water, something liquid. Now, funds, like a savings account, for instance, easily converted into cash, but not counted in the M1 money supply because they cannot be used directly to purchase goods and services, are instead considered to be near money. So if you had an ice cube can be turned into water very easily. But there is a little bit of a process that has to go to turn your ice cubes into water. So it's not exactly water, but it's real close. That's why it's considered near money. Now, the broadest form of money, so the broadest money supply measurement is better known as M3, which includes M2. So that means all of the things that we talked about previously, all of the savings accounts, and all large time deposits, meaning things that you cannot easily withdraw. So, like if you have money in a retirement account, that is considered a large time deposit because you put your money in, you don't take it out until your retirement age. Also, repurchase agreements, which are kind of what they sound like. It's an agreement that you sell something to someone, but you will repurchase it at some later time from them. And also some euro dollars. By euro dollars, that basically means U.S. funds that are deposited in some type of overseas bank account, usually in Europe. Oh, clever. So again, M1 is going to be the narrowest range of money. M2, since it includes things like savings account, is a little more broad, but the broadest one are going to include those M3 things that are very difficult to turn into money. So again, M1, you can go to a store, use it. M2 includes things you can purchase at a store, but also things that take an extra step. And M3, that's also going to include things that are very difficult to turn into money. If you do so, it takes some doing. M2, that's not in M1. You can turn that into money usually in a matter of hours or a day tops. M3 could take days, weeks, possibly months, depending on where you had your money. All right, that was Money and the Federal Reserve, Section B, Money Supply Measurements lecture. Our prioritized standard again was Economic Standard 51. Objectively, now you can distinguish between the different money supply measurements.